Thank you, Lord. Yes. Thank you, sir. Glory. Hallelujah. Yes. Yes. Glory.
It's preaching time now. Never go down to preaching, but always up. We need the Word of God.
Yes. Amen.
If you're a believer, your soul thirsts and hunger
Yes,
for the Word of God. If you are a believer, you depend on the Word of God. If you are a believer, you trust the Word of God. If you are a believer, it's God's Word, and we're not worried about any other words. I need His Word. Y'all hear how that baby crying? That's because she's hungry. And that's how believers should be for the Word of God. I need to be fed. Because if I'm not fed, then my life will become upset. My attitude will get off track. I need His Word. You have your Bibles. Want to look at this epistle, Galatians 6th chapter, and verse 9. That's Galatians 6th chapter and verse 9. Really, from time to time, preachers and pastors wrestle with what they're going to preach. Somewhere like that on this week. And although, this might do it too, you can't preach one-sided, especially being a pastor. You have to preach what we call pastoral. So that's just a nice way of saying it. Preaching correction. We have to do that. But on today, I'm on a somewhat of a different note. I want to preach something of comfort to us, because as a pastor, you can, who God has put with you or around you, just to be honest, when you hurt, your pastor hurts. When you're going through, he tries to go through with you through prayer. And even if they have to show up, they will. And so I just wanted to encourage all of us. Galatians the 6th chapter and verse 9. And let us not be weary in well doing. For in due season we shall reap if we faint not. You may be seated. And let us not be weary in well doing. For in due season we shall reap if we faint not.
Yes, sir.
We want to just simply preach about don't get weary in doing well.
Yes, sir.
Don't get weary in doing well.
Amen.
There's times in life to where we come to a point to where we want to throw in the towel.
Yes, sir.
Amen.
You're good, baby.
Amen.
There are times in life where we just really want to give up. There's times in life to where we want to just run away.
Right.
We don't even know where we're running, but all we know is we want to get away
Yeah.
from the circumstances and the surroundings that we are in.
Yeah, baby.
God knew that sometimes we might get to that point.
Yeah.
And Robert, he's such a good God that he knows everything. He decided, laced the pen, Galatians 6 and 9, to be not weary in well doing.
Yes, sir.
God is such an involved God that when he penned this, he had you in mind.
All right.
You can take the us out
All right.
and put your name there.
All right.
And Josh Brown, be not weary
Yes, sir.
in well doing.
Yeah.
You can put your own name there because God had you in mind when he penned this.
All right.
Well, before we can deal with this weariness, let me first deal with the wellness.
All right.
Because a lot of people think they are doing well. Are y'all in here?
Yeah.
But sometimes their wellness is not wellness at all.
All right.
In this particular passage, it shows us what he is talking about when he says wellness.
All right.
Well, we have to go back to verse 1. Because we want to preach this in its context and not just run them up and make the Bible say what we want the Bible
Yes, sir.
to say.
All right.
Well, in verse 1, it says, brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I've got to stop there.
Yes, sir.
The first thing he tells us not to get weary with, he says, don't get weary with the ones that get caught up.
That's right.
Because if you look at certain versions of this, he says either overtaken, fallen, or caught in a fault.
Yes, sir.
Can I tell you that sometimes we that right now we ain't been caught up.
Yeah.
But sometimes we get weary with those that have gotten themselves caught up.
Yes, sir.
Amen.
And there's no reason for you looking at me like you're looking, because if truth be told,
Yes, sir.
all of us have had a time
Yeah.
to where we got caught up.
Yes, sir.
He says, and if the church is going to be the church, and if you're going to be a true Christian, you got to be patient with those
That's right.
that get caught up.
Yes, sir.
He says, and this is what I want you to do when they get caught up. He says, I'm going to even tell you how to handle it.
Yeah.
He says, ye which are spiritual.
Yes, sir.
He says, when you find someone that has been caught up in a fault, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness.
All right.
Well, you're saying, Pastor Brown, what does that mean? I'm glad you asked me.
All right.
He says, when you restore them,
Yeah.
do it gently.
Yeah. Very. Yes, sir.
I knew y'all were going to talk to me today. It's all right. He says, they have been caught up. Don't throw them away, but be gentle with them as you are restoring them. What it means is that you got to have a relationship when folk mess up, that you get in on the scene and help restore and repair them and to mend them back together and make them look good and restore them to their previous position and their previous condition. A lot of us, what we like to do when people are caught up, we like to put our foot on their neck.
That's right.
Preach God's right, I know I am. He said, but I'm telling you, be patient with the ones that have been caught up, because you very well have been caught up too.
Yes, sir.
Amen. Yeah.
He said, I need you to do it gently. I thank God for this, because it's been times where I have become upset
All right.
with my own children
All right.
or others that are a part of my bloodline.
Uh-huh.
And I say, did you hear what they said, or did you see what they did?
Yeah.
And when I got into bed, God had to take my mind,
Back.
had to take my mind back
All right.
and show me that a lot of things they doing, I did it worse than what they did.
Yeah.
Restore them
Yes, Lord. Amen.
and do it gently.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you do it gently, you'll make more progress. I'm learning over the years. There were so many things that I was dogmatic about. So many things that I would put the iron gloves on about. Come on, help me, Holy Ghost. And I had to learn over time, it ain't working.
Yes, sir.
I knew y'all were going to talk.
Yes,
And God had me to switch the fist of ironness and put on the gloves of meekness. It don't mean that you don't correct folk. It don't mean that you don't tell the truth. But what it is that the way I'm going to handle you, I'm going to try to handle you as gently, because you're fragile, because you've been caught up.
Yes, sir.
He says, don't get weary in dealing with people that have been caught up. Since y'all don't want to talk, he said, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness. He says, okay, I'm going to help you. He says, considering thyself.
Yeah. You got to look back at yourself.
Lest thou also be tempted.
Yeah.
What is it saying right here? He said, first of all, I don't want you to be weary in the folks that are being caught up, but then too, I don't want you to get weary in considering and self-examining yourself.
That's right. Look at yourself.
He says, here's the problem. He said, I want you to consider yourself, and you'll have compassion on others when you consider, hey, they got caught up, but guess what? That could have been me.
Yeah.
And see, a lot of us, if we had that theology where it said, hey, it could have been me, we would be a better church when we decide, hey, that could have been me. That could have been me on drugs. Y'all ain't in here. That could have been me a wino on the corner. That could have been me being a prostitute. That could have been me being homeless. That could have been me having children everywhere for everybody. Y'all in there. That could have been me. That could have been me dead and gone. That could have been me out there robbing. That could have been me in prison. That could have been me. Consider yourself.
Could have been. Thank you. Lord.
He says, don't be weary with those that have gotten caught up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be weary in always looking at yourself.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
See, and what I'm seeing more and more in church is that we want to look at everybody else.
Yeah.
What they doing, what they not doing.
Yeah.
See, but if you spend more time in the mirror of self-examination, you won't have time to talk about nobody else because you understand, look here, I got a blemish right here, a messed up right here, a hairline ain't right here. Just enough time to work on me.
Yeah.
Instead of me trying to talk about somebody else.
All right.
Says, don't be weary with the people that have been caught up. Don't be weary in considering yourself.
Yes.
This is the wellness that he's talking about in verse 9.
All right.
Yeah.
Look in verse 2.
All right.
It says, bear ye one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ.
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah.
Because the reason he says this right here, that it'll fulfill the law of Christ, because in the church at Galatians,
All right.
a lot of them have became legalistic.
Yeah.
You got to do this, you got to do that, you got to have all your I's dotted, you got to have all your T's crossed. But I don't serve a God like this. I'm striving to have all my I's dotted. I'm striving to have all my T's crossed. But Lord, you know that I am the unfinished product. And he says that, listen, y'all want to bring all these laws and be legalistic with the folk. You want to tell them that they got to be circumcised. You want to tell them they got to do this, they got to walk this way, they got to wear this. He said, but I don't. He said, this is how you fulfill the law. Bear each of one another's burden.
Yes, sir. Bear your burden.
He says, I don't want you to be weary and getting caught up. I don't want you to be weary and considering yourself. He said, and I don't want you to be weary in being a carrier.
All right. Yeah.
So y'all missed that.
Yeah. Well,
He said, I don't want you to be weary in being a carrier.
Yeah. Carry.
Mr. Richard, what a carrier is because you're going to see later on it's going to look like these verses are going to contradict one another. Because it says right here in verse 2, bear ye of each other's burdens. Right. Then it's going to tell you again, each man should bear his own. I'm going to get to that.
All right.
But what it's talking about right here, Tay, is this. Is you put your burdens in your book bag.
All right.
Okay.
Put it on, zip it up. It's heavy.
Yeah.
Linda, you can carry that.
Oh, yeah.
But after your book bag gets full,
Yeah.
and the zip about to bust on it,
Yeah.
and then more burdens are in your arms. Y'all in here?
Yeah.
You got the book bag on, your arms are filled with burdens. He said, when you see folks overloaded like that, get some of their hand and help them carry it.
Yes, sir.
And the problem with the church now, we have become an uninvolved church with one another to where we'll let folks catch all kind of hell, see them go through it, and won't help them.
All right. Amen. Amen.
I don't want to be a part of no church like that. Because a lot of folk want church, but they really don't want Christianity. And Christianity said, when you see folk overloaded, help them out.
Yes, sir.
That's what it says.
That's what it says.
You know, when we were in school, if you seen a girl
All right.
you liked, she couldn't carry them books. Y'all know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Y'all out there? And he said that when you're overloaded, when you see folks overloaded, get something out their hand.
Right.
Pray with them.
Yeah.
Let them know you're with them. Let them know that you are understanding. Let them borrow some of your joy. Y'all in here?
Yeah.
Let them borrow some of your peace. Let them borrow some of your understanding. Let them borrow some of the experiences you have been through when you were catching hell in the same fact of life. And say, listen here, man, if God got me through, surely he can get you through too.
He'll do it. Come on.
He says, don't be weary
Yeah.
with those that have been caught up. He says, don't be weary in considering yourself. He says, don't be weary in being a carrier of other people's burdens. And he's somewhat redundant here to get it over to us. Look at verse 3. He says, for if a man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself.
Yeah. Fooling yourself.
What he's talking about right here, ladies, is comparisons. And you know we love to do that.
All right.
They're worse than me. Oh, I went, but I didn't stay that long.
All right.
Oh, I did that, but I didn't do it that way.
All right.
It's not what you do, but how you do it.
All right.
And we love to compare ourselves to those that seem as if they're worse off than us. Look, I have met some people, and this is no lie, that were jacked up. You can smell the wild Irish on their breath. They were dirty.
All right.
They were living on the streets. But they had a pure heart.
That's right.
There's some of us that don't drink.
All right.
There's some of us that got a house to go to. There's some of us that can't take a bath. He said, stop doing this comparison thing like you better than somebody else, because if you think, baby, your stuff don't stink, he said, you deceiving yourself.
All right. There you go. Yeah. All right.
Now watch this. He said, but let every man prove his own work.
Yeah.
And then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone and not in another. Here's that verse I was talking about, verse 5. For every man shall bear his own burden.
That's right. Yeah, his own.
This is what he's talking about when he's talking about this comparison thing. He's not talking about, hey, I want you to help, now I don't want you to help. God is not contradicting himself. This is what he's saying. He said, why you doing all this comparison and think you better than everybody else? He said, look here, you need to examine yourself and be worried about what you are doing, because all of us have to stand before God and be judged for the action and the things that we do and say.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What did you do with your life? What did you do with your time? What did you do with your money? We all got to stand before God. I can't stand there for you. You got to stand on your own.
Yeah. For yourself.
Hopefully you got Jesus and the blood of Jesus on your life.
Yeah.
He says, don't be weary. Then watch this. In verse 6, he said, let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teacheth in all good things. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting.
Yes, sir. Everlasting.
I'm going to get out y'all way because y'all tired. But he says, I don't want you to be weary in your communication. I know y'all ain't going to say amen right here, but it's all right for me. What he's dealing with in verse 6 is taking care of the Lord's house and the leaders of the Lord's house.
All right.
See how quiet I got?
All right.
And if you notice, out of all my years of preaching, you hardly ever hear me preach anything about money.
All right.
All right.
Here's why. Because a lot of people think when you preach about the Lord's house and taking care of the Lord's leaders, they think it's for their, they think it's for my benefit.
Yeah.
But that ain't what the word says. He said, it ain't for my benefit, baby. It's for your benefit.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
If you walked in your house and your house was leaking, I would think that you would do something to repair the leak.
Yeah.
If you walked in your house and the floor was about to fall in,
Yeah.
I would think
Yes, sir.
that you would do something to fix the floor.
Right.
Let me come a little closer to you. Why is it that we'll take care of our own house better than God's house? See, I told you y'all were going to get quiet right there. But we will just bypass God's house. Ain't worried about what it looks like, what they doing, what condition is in, or anything like that. As long as we got what we got, we think we all right.
All right. Bridget.
My Lord.
Here it is right here. He says, be not deceived. Don't fool yourself.
Yeah.
God is not mocked. God ain't lying.
Yeah.
For whatsoever a man soweth,
Sure.
that shall he also reap.
Yes, sir.
AJ, for so long, people have tried to use this verse as a verse of karma.
All right. All right.
Preach, Josh, I'm trying. That ain't what it's talking about.
Okay.
It's not talking about do good, you're gonna get good. Do bad, you're gonna get bad. That ain't what it's talking about.
All right.
It's still talking about taking care of the Lord's house and his leaders. He said if you sow a little, you're gonna reap a little.
All right.
You sow a lot, you're gonna get a lot.
All right.
See, because this can't be a verse of karma, because then you're taking it out of its contextual integrity, but we got to keep it in its context. What it is not talking about karma, because baby, if you got what you sowed, y'all in here? If you really got what you put out there, you wouldn't be here. Because you do way more bad than you do good. And if it was talking about karma, man, you would have been dead a long time ago. Matter of fact, you would have never been born.
All right.
Because you can't do enough good.
Yes, sir.
He says, but your communication should be in your actions. See, because a lot of people, you know, they talk a good game. Woo. They can talk it, but they can't walk it.
Yeah. Walk the walk.
Folks will tell you I'm with you,
Yeah.
get in trouble.
Yeah. Then you know. Then you know.
Supposed to tell you, I'm walking hand in hand with let things get tight.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, they let things get tight, Mr. Richard, and I guarantee you, they grip are loose.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But he says, don't get weary in taking care of the Lord's house. See, because, let me say this, I'm going to get off of this, is that what has happened to the church is that we're looking at this world as if it's the church.
Yeah.
We're looking at a lot of these worldly people that say they are God's chosen, but are really not. And so what it has done is caused the people that are trying to follow God, it takes them to say, look, what leader you know, what local leader you know got a plan?
All right. All right.
Jesus.
What leader you know that's driving up to a mansion?
All right. Come on now.
Let me go ahead and make it plain for you. And the reason why he says take care of the Lord's house is because a lot of local preachers and those that are trying to do it right, they're so unfocused because they got to focus on budget. They got to focus on money. How we going to do what we trying to do when God says, listen, I don't need you to be concentrating on that. I need you to be concentrating on teaching the folk.
That's right.
Amen.
Yes.
Say it. That's it. That's it.
That's what it's talking about.
Yeah.
He says, but he that soweth to his flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. He told us what the wellness is. And then this is what he says. See, I'll let you know, Jayla, what the wellness is. He said, now, let me encourage you. Don't be weary in doing it.
Yes, sir. Don't be weary. Slow down.
Jesus.
Well, what does this word weary mean? It means many things. It can mean to become bored. That's why you got a lot of busybodies in church these days. Because they bored.
Yeah.
And since they bored, they move around with a spoon and a pot
All right.
to stir some things up.
All right. All right.
It also means to get tired. Can I tell you that sometimes you feel tired?
Sometimes.
Because people are getting caught up, you're trying to restore them. You got to consider yourself. You don't need to be comparing. It can become exhausting. But he says, don't get exhausted. Don't lose heart. Don't give in. Don't give up. Don't give up the race. Don't give up the fight. But keep pressing on. Don't be weary in well-doing. Why don't you need to be weary in well-doing? He said, because if you keep going. He said, if you keep doing it to the end, you gonna reap if you don't faint. It's okay to get tired, but you got to keep going. It's okay to sometimes try to catch your breath, but you got to keep on going. He said, be not weary in well-doing.
All right.
He says, I don't want you to be weary in being consistent. You ever had some inconsistent people in your life? Inconsistency causes mistrust.
All right.
Inconsistency causes disbelief. Because you say you're going to be there. You say you're going to do this. You might show up, but you're not consistent. So every time when you deal with inconsistent people, you have to make back plans. You have to make back plans, A and B and C and D and E and F. And all of the above, because your track record Bible says you're not consistent. God said, don't be inconsistent. He said, be not weary in being consistent of the things of God and helping one another out.
All right. Yeah.
Say
Got you.
Now we got to the part y'all like. For in due season, we shall reap if we faint not. What he talking about there, Miss Cullins, is collection day.
All right.
Collection day, y'all, is a good day.
Yeah, it is.
All y'all that go on these jobs, y'all ought to be shouting right now. You know collection day, y'all must not getting paid.
Yeah.
Collection day is a day that you look forward to it. Collection day says to me that all the hell and the strain I went through was not in vain, because here's what I have in exchange for all of my sweat, for all of my tears, for all of my forgiveness, for all of my keep on keeping on. It's collection day now.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Lord.
He says, you'll reap. See, it don't make sense to work hard, to strain, to struggle,
Yeah.
and then when you get to collection day, fall asleep.
Yeah.
He says, keep going,
Yeah.
because you gonna reap if you don't faint.
Yes, sir.
That's a promise. God can't lie.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm trying to make it to collection day.
All right.
Thank you, Lord.
Well. Let me see how I can get out of here. Bible is always, no matter what you read, it's always a picture of Jesus.
Yeah.
These passages I just read are not any different.
All right.
Well, what did Jesus do? Well, he went around, they doing all manner of good.
Yeah.
He did good for those that he already knew were going to crucify him on that day.
That's right.
He did good
Yeah.
to those that he knew were going to put spikes in his wrists
Yeah.
and spikes in his feet. He went around and he didn't let it discourage him. He didn't let it stop him from doing what he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
They marched him up that hill,
Huh?
got that heavy burden
Yeah.
on him, struggling with it.
Yeah.
Here comes Simon and Cyrene said, let me help out. They chose him, but he helped the Lord out to carry the burden on up to Calvary. Gets there, nails him to a cross.
Yeah.
He's in so much pain, you ain't never felt this kind of pain before.
Yeah.
And he had the power, Todd, to come down if he wanted to,
Yeah.
but he didn't, because he knew that he didn't need to get weary in doing well for those of us.
Thank you, Lord.
His wellness held him to the cross. His wellness held him there. His wellness caused him to die for you, for your sins.
Yeah.
Gives up the ghost. Stays there Friday, Saturday in that bar tomb. But early Sunday morning, he gets up.
Yes, Lord. Yes, he did.
Collection day.
Thank you.
Gets up with all power
Yeah.
in heaven and in earth,
Uh-huh.
in the palm of his hands. thing went around showing itself to the disciples and the others, and then ascended to the right hand of his Father.
Yes, indeed.
The story ain't over, bro.
Yeah.
Cause collection day coming again.
That's right.
He said that he coming back
Yeah.
soon and very soon.
Yeah.
Well, what is he collecting, Raven? He's collecting those
Yes, sir.
that belong to him.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you feel about it, but I want to be woke for collection day. That when he shows up, I go with him.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Be not weary
Yes.
in well doing.
All right.
Ye shall reap if you faint not. Don't be weary in doing well.
Yeah.
Sometimes it seems like you're doing it in vain.
Amen. Yeah.
It seems like when you're doing well, sometimes it gets worse.
Yeah.
It seems like when you're doing well, the devil even gets busy.
It does. Yeah.
But I hear the Lord
Yeah.
telling you in your ear and in your face, don't be weary in well doing.
Amen.
It ain't in vain.
Yeah.
Collection day is coming.
Amen.
The doors of the church are open.
Yeah.
If you have not given your life to the Lord, now is the time. Tomorrow is not promised.
That's right.
If you want to make it to collection day, get with Christ,
Yes, sir.
because he's the judge. He gonna judge it all.
Oh.
He gonna be distributing out the checks and the crowns and the robes
Yeah. Yeah.
and the rewards.
Yeah.
I want to be there.
Yes,
Yeah.
The,
Amen.
the doors of the church are open.
Amen.
Give your life to the Lord while you have time.
Thank you, sir.
If you came in here unsaved, you don't have to leave that way.
All right.
We serve a good God.
Yes, we do. Thank you, sir.
He's so good
Yes, Lord.
that even when we feel like we're getting exhausted in doing what he has us to do, he gives us a little bit more strength. He gives us a little bit more understanding. He gives us a little bit more patience to keep going. So don't be weary. Turn those tears of sadness into tears of joy. Because payday is coming. You can't lend to God and he don't give it back. When you're laboring for God, payday coming. The doors of the church are open.